us real black people time today.
Hey, no, we went on our ancestors' time.
Yes, that's why we're waiting patiently.
Give thanks.
Yes, we have to give thanks. I just want folks out there to know that I'm disappointed in the attendance. I thought it was going to be a traffic jam out here, but mostly I'm disappointed because people didn't bring their children to hear the message that Dr. Small has. So think about that, black and brown people out there, when you listen to this. How important it is for us to bring our kids forward so they can learn from the beginning before they get poisoned by the school system. Think about that, family.
Give thanks.
So let's clap it up for Mama Nadi and Papa.
Circulated as we prepare now to wait for.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. Salaikum salam. Ooh. Give thanks. Give thanks. Give thanks.
Yeah, I got to learn more
Respect.
about Connecticut
Love.
today.
Good to see you.
James.
Right
What's happening, brother? Thank you, man. I'm glad you got here. Long trip, man.
Give thanks.
Thank you, man. Welcome to our little spot, man.
I'm so thankful.
I heard
Brother, welcome.
Come on.
Pleasure.
I'm so thankful. You want to welcome up to the front?
Yeah.
You asking me for some smoothie? I have some in the bag. Is that all right? Text me about this. All
right. This is my wife, my colleague Kevin. This is my wife Elba. This is Jeffrey. Oh, he went out, man.
What the power?
Yeah, I'm gonna put my phone on. Actually, I don't know. I'm gonna go live. It went out, yeah.
It's charged now. It was 17%. Oh, you heard that?
No, I was over there in here. I was working Okay, Benjamin back here.
All right, family, we got Baba Professor James Small in the house. Let's make it happen, family.
You want the music? You want the music? Hey, listen. Okay, go on. Don't listen. Just let me know.
Want a higher chair?
Yeah, the light hit good right there. The light hit way better. The light
I hit way better.
Information, not just new information, our history of information that can help us to grow and to recognize who we are as individuals and also as a community. And Professor James Smalls, who also drove up today, spending his hard-earned time and sharing this brilliant work, lifetime of work, over 30, 40, 50 years of doing this research and sharing with our community. And if you're looking for them on different documentaries, you can find them, and look them up on YouTube. You can learn a lot. So I just want to thank you guys all for being here, showing patience, and also Brother Kasike, if you want to come and share a couple words with the crew.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys.
Put your hands together.
I don't really have much to say. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed with gratitude. It's a very special day for me. It's an honor to have Dr. Smalls here with all of you to share in the information that he has for us. So without further ado, Professor Dr. James Smalls.
Put your hands together.
I'm the one that's honored when my brother called me and asked me to come. And he said, to Hartford, that's okay, cool. I've been hanging in Hartford for a while. I've been here a long time. Then I saw Berlin. The first thing that comes to you when you see Berlin, right? Berlin. That don't sound too good.
Welcome to Germany.
But what was amazing was the journey this morning. We think we're the only ones with juju, right? The other side's got juju too. And sometimes we forget that. I've been 5 hours getting here, right? Wow. Should have took me less than 2 hours to get here. Because I got family all over Connecticut, And it just was, last night I was with Forrest Whitaker. Forrest and I worked together. Anybody ever seen The Godfather of Harlem?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Well, I'm the historical consultant on that project. And so last night, Forrest has 3 refugee camps, one in Colombia, one in Uganda, and one in southern Sudan. So once a year, he does a gala fundraiser for those refugee camps, where we teach the children skills so that they can go out and start their own businesses and make their own jobs. And then the other part of it is we call the youth peacekeepers. So we teach the young people how to make peace between the different tribes who have issues. And it's better to have someone from that tribe trying to bring peace than for me to go from America trying to talk about peace among the community. And so last time we had one of the young peacekeepers from Uganda, one from Colombia, one from southern Sudan, and one from South Africa. And Whoopi Goldberg chaired it for us. And so we had a good evening, raised about $300,000 for the project. And that don't count the corporate tables. And so I came home last night, and I like to work on the computer after midnight, because everybody else in the house is asleep, the house is quiet and cool. I was up until 4. I set my alarm so I can get up at 9:30, take a little shower. So the child's gonna be at the house at 11, I'm gonna let him drive, and I'll be tired. I woke up at 12 o'clock, just jumped up and hit the phone, ringing, it's not ringing. So my alarm went off, but somehow the sound, I never turned it back up from the night before when I was sitting in this place. So we hit the road and we're driving and we cruise like 80 to 90, watching for the cops. And everywhere we go, the traffic just stops. What the hell? And then we were here, sitting right over there, and all of a sudden we stopped. And then they said it was an accident. And then we saw one ambulance going, two ambulance going, three ambulance, and then we knew that something was bad. So Brother Charles went up, but you couldn't get all the way there before the police told us we needed to turn around and go back the other way. But there's always forces trying to stop us. Let me know you brought my jacket. And we've got to be aware that we live not only in the physical world, but actually the physical world that seemed to be the most significant world for us is the least significant of the worlds that we live in. And the world that we predominate is the spiritual world. But we're in a culture that don't seem to really respect or understand our spiritual world. And so we rarely focus on the spiritual except to reference it. And we don't really understand that we're more spirit than we are matter. Matter of fact, the matter was produced by the spirit as a housing for the spirit. And when the matter wears out, and we call it dead, and we bury it and have funerals and things, the spirit doesn't go anywhere. The spirit has been here. My grandparents used to say something, been here, says been ya, been yonder. That means it's always been here, right? When you've been here, says been ya, been yonder, you've always been here. And so there is a spirit that is African. But even Africa is a new word. And it's not a European word, by the way. That word comes from our own people. But we never named ourselves that. White people named us that. That was just the name of one tribe, Afriye. Okay. But when he came and met us, he met us in what is now Algeria and what's next to Algeria? No, the little country in the north. And so that's where the Europeans, the Germans coming out of Spain met us, and then the Romans and the Greeks met us. So that's the name they found, so they call everybody that. We were Afriye. But Ka is a Roman acronym for land. So he said we were going to Afri land, where the Marouche lived. That's where the word Moors come from, black, the word meant black, Greek word for black. So they went to Afri land, where the blacks lived. That's how this name derived. But later when the Arabs and the Europeans came with the trade, they just named all of us. They just said, okay, that's for the whole land. But we never name the whole continent anything. Even that concept of Kibolan, that ain't right. You know, we simply call this earth. But whatever language we speak, we call it the earth. Go to any country, the most sacred name for where they live is Mother Earth. Okay? Because there's only two things of significance in the world, cosmology and ecology. All right? Cosmology and ecology. And we, who are made up of both. Cosmology give us the light and the energy, and ecology give us the mineral and the substance. When you fuse those two together, you got an us. You know? When people, we eat food all day long and we don't realize we're eating dirt, primarily, right? Everything you eat, you say, well, it came from the seed. No, the seed got everything that made it a carrot from the dirt. The collard greens got everything that made it a collard greens from the dirt. The beets got everything that made it the beets from the dirt, and the light from the cosmology. We get light from Mars, Jupiter, the sun, the moon. Everything in the cosmology is sending light. Some of the light that we're absorbing right now took billions of years to get here. But we absorb that light and we become that light. And so our ancestors are very clear that they were a part of the total being of the universe. We weren't a separate thing. It's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam that created these separate, God up there, you down here, the angel over there. No, there's only one thing that exists. We're just a part of the one thing. The Ghanaians had it right, like on the back of my shirt, they said Jinyam, Naninyam. Nothing exists but the divine. So what are we? We are aspects of that existence. Each of us is an aspect of that divine existence. So what are we doing We've got to deal with our practical reality. Sometimes we get off in the, well, I'm just talking about it, we get so far out into space, we don't know how to elect the mayor in the town we live in, or the city council person. We don't go to the school board meeting. We don't attend PTA. Immigrants coming to America. We're finally taking our damn land back. We may speak Spanish, but that ain't our language. We're taking our home back. They don't know who we are. They're so silly in their racism. They don't know who we are. We've come to take our land back. This is our property. The divine gave it to us. We share it with anybody in the world, but don't come and abuse the land and abuse us in our land. And then throw us out of our land, and then when we come back, they say we don't belong in our land. Okay? And so we've got to be those straight on who we are and how we are. Okay? We know, I use the term a lot, that history does what?
Repeat itself.
Erases the mystery.
Erases the mystery?
Learn the history of your family and the history of the ethnic nation you grew up in and the history of the greater people and land you grew up in. Then the history of the greater world, you're able to see what's going on in the world and who's going on and why. There are energies that want to control the divine energy. They've come up with the most beautiful system. They are smart. Religion. This thing called religion, they've created to control the universe by controlling our minds. Right? Now I put on these beads, and some would say I'm a santero if I'm speaking in Spanish. I'm a priest of Orisha in the Yoruba, but all that means Africa never had a religion. Santeria is not a religion. Colonial is not a religion. Orisha is not a religion. You know, Yukumi is not a religion. It is a way of life. It's a way of understanding nature and a way of understanding cosmology and apply it to how we should live our daily life. That's what it's supposed to do. But we've gone astray too. We think it's a religion. And we get to praying to space and wonder why nothing happens. I grew up in a Baptist church. We come from a Baptist church out in Carolina. That's my cousin right there. I was so happy she came over. She told me she's gonna come to see y'all before I got here. She was. My grandfather, who helped to raise me, is her grand uncle. And his favorite sister is her grandmother. My papa would always talk about that. Grandma died very young, but that was my grandpa's favorite sister. I mean, the man never talked about anything that somehow edited and come out. Because he felt that they had taken her, well, that's Grandma Mama right there. That's the queen mother of the family right there. And so, if you look at her, you see it. She was a part of the African and the Chicora Nation in a place called Oak Hill, South Carolina. And they used to take us to clean the mounds. You know, we buried our people in the mounds of rocks. Right? And so every year she would lead the delegation twice a year for us to clean the mounds and to reset things. Because on the mounds they had pot, spoon, they had pieces of different things from the house that person used before they left to go. So what we need to understand though is how are we the world? We are the world. But how are we? We are the divine, but how are we? We are earth. Everybody in here is made up of all the things you've ever eaten in your life and all the things your mother and father ate in their life. When your mother and father gave birth to you by through sex, bringing their sperm and their egg together, who did they create? They recreated themselves. Because that's all they can recreate, right? And they had been recreated by who? Your grandparents, right? And they had been recreated by their grandparents, right? So who was the first creator? God, right? So who are you then? You are that long-term extended creation of what we call God. That's who you are. And that's what our people are trying to explain with their sacred science. And you see these beads when we got to the Americas, and they said you can't play your drums. They said you can't dance your dance. You can't sing your song. We don't even want you to eat your food. If we see you bring any seeds, we're gonna try to destroy those seeds unless it's just from us. We're gonna eat what we want you to eat, but we figured out other ways to recognize the new plants, to eat what we had to eat. And from our native brothers who were already here, they taught us how to eat and how to be. Because a lot of people, when we hear things like the Gullah Geechee talk from South Carolina, that's part Native American, part African, part European. That's what we speak. That's the same language. If you come to Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and you go to Spain, they barely understand what you're speaking, because you speak in Native American, Taino, Spanish, and a little bit of something else, a little bit of African.
Yes.
Those three make up your language that we call it Spanish, because that's the dominant aspects of it. But it's those three groupings. They know that, but they don't want us to know that. See? Because if you know sound and vibration, even the sound and vibration you make with your mouth, even the vibration you make by breathing, if you understand the rhythm by which you breathe, you can be developing yourself spiritually. But you gotta know how to breathe, right? You gotta know what is the cadence, what cadence are you using when you're speaking? Because your speaking cadence also determines the healthiness of your body, the healthiness of your spirit. And so when we're moving about our daily life, you've got to understand that we are a living being. And we carry all of the elements of the divine. I don't like the word creator or creation, because that presupposes the beginning, and nobody can tell me where the beginning is, so there's no concept as a beginning. That's a false word. There's no concept as an end. Those are two false concepts. Okay? Nothing can begin. We have always been. As long as been has been, we have been. Right? And if we can get back to understanding that, we won't let people take us off of our balance into their unbalance. Because things are very fundamental. When you wake up in the morning, the one thing that your mind has to be on is how am I going to provide food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security for me and my family. That's the foundation aspiration. Now, how do I do that? I got to get control of the economic, the politics, and the culture where I live. Now, how do I do that? I must learn how to acquire land, get control of some labor, get control of some resources, and then I can do those other three things. For the purpose of what? Providing the food, the clothing, the shelter, the safety, and security. You can sit back and drum all day and beat the bell all day and shake your legs all day. Ain't a damn thing gonna happen. You get some good music. You can dance a little bit.
That's right.
But the fundamental is supplying that food, clothing, shelter, safety, security for yourself and your people. And that means controlling. Malcolm X called it black nationalism. Somebody asked, Brother Minister Malcolm, what do you mean by black nationalism? Malcolm says when you can control the economic, politics, and culture where you live. That's black nationalism. How do we do that? You gotta get control of some land. You gotta own land. You gotta organize your family and your friends into the labor resources that's gonna run that land and build industry on that land, whether it's in the city or in the countryside. We've kind of lost focus on that piece. We lost focus on that because they got us into just getting a job with them. And we forgot how to build businesses of our own, how to build communities of our own. But if you're going to survive, you're going to have to back the track up a little bit. How am I going to plant my own food so I can eat healthy? We can talk about the GMOs all day and complain about what that rich dude name over there playing with the food and all of this. We can talk about them on Facebook and everything else all day. But if we don't provide an alternative to it, conversation don't mean nothing. Conversation don't mean a thing. We are the most powerful force on the planet. The enemy knows that. We're the one that don't know it. If you just went through America and said, okay, America's one of the greatest countries that was ever built. While the Africans built their telephone, we built their light bulb, we built their elevator, we built their gas mask, we built their electric train third wheel, we built, there's hardly any technology. Go in the car, the turn signal an African American created, the combustion engine we created, transmission system we created. We just didn't have the money to put it all together. He had the money, he stole from us. He put it all together into a car. But even some of the first cars, automobiles, we built. But they drove us out of business. Because our people weren't wise enough. We ran to General Motors and Ford to work for them because the black man couldn't pay us the same salary. And he went out of business. We didn't understand what do for self meant. And Elijah Muhammad came back and tried to tell us how to do for self. Booker T. Washington told us how to do for self. Even Dr. King in the end started telling us how to do for self. And we didn't get the message. Now the kids call that the 411. We didn't get that 411 that you must do for yourself. I'm here at the Taino chess club. And I used to think I was a bit of a chess player when I was young. I was never that good. I can still play with my grandkids. I keep making sure I teach them. But that you call yourself Taino. I was telling you the story about my first daughter's grandma. And Miss Rosa was sick, God bless her soul, she's an ancestor now. And my daughter Anika was speaking in Spanish, and she said, so Anika, your father don't speak in Spanish, so speak in English so your father can understand what we're talking about. And then she said, no, but you know, Grandma, we're Spanish. She said, no, we know Spanish. We are Taino in Africa. We know Spanish. We got a little bit of Spanish. She said, we're Taino in Africa. This old lady, when I was dating her daughter, was also an ancestor. Back in the 60s, and we were out here in the street. This is before the founding of the Young Lords. We were both here with the founding of the Young Lords. This is before the founding National Front for the Liberation of Puerto Rico, which I was a part of. We really, Guillermo, who was one of the strongest revolutionaries we still have living in Cuba now. And his name is Morales. This brother used to be the best bomb maker in New York. He lost all of his fingers, but he worked with 2 thumbs. He escaped from the Manhattan Correction Center on the streets with 2 thumbs. They don't know how he did it. So I don't know how he did it with 2 thumbs. But he's in Cuba with Asada, and they've been there since almost around the same time. Most people don't know about Guillermo, but he was the head of the Front for the National Liberation of Puerto Rico. He was one of the founders, along with Joyce Vicencio, Juancho Cruz, Juan Santana, and some others. That was the time when the Latino and the Africans knew we were one people and we should fight together as one. And something happened when the bourgeois Negroes took over our leadership on both sides and went in these 2 different directions and forgot what the struggle was all about in the beginning. For the freedom to be who we are. I really don't care what the others want to be. They got that right as a living being to be that. But they don't have the right to force me to be that. I have to be what I have to be. I have to be what my nature, the divine universe created me to be. We call, when we understand that, our culture. And that's why our people create these electrics. They're not just pretty beads. You know, Forrest Whitaker was a hell of an actress, right? Actor. Forrest had been a priest in Lucame for 35 years. Wow. But they don't know that. So when I got 8 years ago, when I joined the group, the company with MGM, and they saw me wearing, I always wear my electric outside. People wear theirs inside, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I want everybody to see who I am. I'm not hiding this at all. So I had these made in Brazil, so you get the little thing on the hand that you're supposed to hang down, and I could wear it on the outside. So they said, you know, Forrest wear nice beads, just like you. I said, we black people, we love beads. That's right. I used to go shopping, come back to the plantation, and say, oh, hey, Joe, take all the beads you want. And didn't understand that we took those beads that they gave us and created universities, created the whole African University. And so since we couldn't meet to teach one another, and we couldn't build our own buildings, we built our institution through beads. Wow. Shango is a whole school of thought. If this was a college, this would be a department that would be dealing with administration, that would be dealing with management, that would be dealing with organization and structure. That's why he's the king. The symbol is the king. Right? He's the administrator. He's the leader. He's the manager. And all of the tools that go with being a good manager. The story of Shango is about the eradication of the ego, the eradication of arrogance, the eradication of negative dominance. Because in the beginning of the story, that's what he is. He got this power so his chest is stuck out. Tells his brothers, I'm gonna make your fight to the death, and whoever wins, I'm gonna give you this piece of power. And when he realized one of the brothers had been killed, and realized he's responsible for killing his own brother, then he runs in the forest and commits suicide. But he doesn't commit physical suicide, he commits spiritual suicide. Because the spirit that was him was a negative, evil spirit, based on arrogance and ego and power. And that had to be killed. And so when he's hanging at the tree, who comes? Obakosu. The king is not dead. Who shows up? Oya. And that's my mother. I'm proud of Oya. Oya shows up and cuts him down. But he's a changed man now. Why? Because Oya in the metaphor is not a person. She's in the metaphor, a woman with beautiful locks, running through the forest, and she can turn into deer and other things. But Oya is the concept of change in the human character, change in process, dynamic change that changes the human character based on the concept that he gives them art, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, balance, and reciprocity. Right? So Shango becomes the changed man in the metaphor, because Shango is not a real person. Shango is the idea of power. Shango is the idea of dominance. But power and dominance must be governed by justice. It must be governed by honesty. It must be governed by tolerance. He learns this and goes through this change in his marriage to Oya. But that's not good enough. Oya is changed in process. That's why she's called the wind. The wind blows away the stale and does what? Allow for the fresh to come in, right? But Oya will now marry who? Ogun, the god of iron, the god of war. And this is Ogun, the symbol of Ogun everywhere around the neck. There's a whole institution in studying Ogun, right? But the thing about Ogun that is extraordinary, Ogun represents the process of transformation. Now, Oya represents the process of change that leads to transformation. But it's Ogun that represents the process of transformation itself. And so when you look at the metaphor, you say, what is Ogun? Ogun is the maker of iron, right? But how do you make iron? You take a rock, the rock that's full of what? Impurities. You do what with the rock? You put it in the heat, you put it in the fire. You do what? To burn out the impurities. You do what? To transform that rock into something you can use to make tools, to make weapons, called steel. Okay? And so that process of transformation is a part of the school of thought of these instruments around my neck. Each one of these is a college unto itself. Obatala, the beautiful white Obatala. But so Obatala is wisdom. But Obatala is more than wisdom. Obatala is the whole concept of intellectualism. Obatala is the concept of gaining knowledge. Knowledge leads to what? Understanding. Understanding leads to what? Enlightenment. Enlightenment leads to what? Wisdom. And so you got a whole school of thought, and that's nothing. Each of these represent that. And then this is my favorite. When I want to scare white folks when I go to work, I wear this one. I don't wear white shirt. Never be wondering why he wears this red and black necklace all the time. I told him, that's Issue Legba. He opens the way for me. When I walk in here, Issue has opened that door wide. But Issue represents the moving of conflict out of your way, which means you should spend more time meditating. You should spend more time focusing. You should spend more time studying. And you should never go approaching things when you don't know what the thing is. Do some investigating. Know what's beyond that door before you go through the door. That's what Issue makes sure. So our ancestors knew that we can't have this meeting in the open, but we can create symbols of all of these ideas, and we assign colors to them. And they see us as dancing and drumming with our pretty beads, when they don't understand that we brought our entire culture and embed them in the Alekis. And this becomes the university for our people, without the enemy even know we're having this kind of conversation. Because the conversation, even today, they don't know how to get into this conversation, right? They don't know how to understand it. Now in Black America, we couldn't do this. Because this was a white state. This was a majority white nation, and we were a minority. So what we had to do is take the same ideas and embed them in the church. And the main church we embedded them in was the Baptist church. Contrary to the history the liberal law teaches, the Baptist church is older than the AME church. The Baptist church is founded in Savannah, Georgia, as an African Baptist church. Some of them still exist in South Carolina and Georgia in 1749. And what the people they did was that they took all the ideas that was African, studied the Bible, which is a fundamentally African document that someone else copied, but they understood the sense of it enough to know how to re-hide the African image, you understand? They're just mine anyway, but they don't know that that's mine. But I can hide myself right beside it and they'll never recognize it. So when I was a little boy, on this place called Acadia Plantation, down in Georgetown, South Carolina, when everybody in my group got to be 13, we were called into the church. We were all going to Sunday school and stuff, but now we were called into one group, and we had to pick a church father. In Africa, that's your uncle, right? And you had to pick a church, the girls pick a church mother, and that's the queen mother, and that's who you be choosing. Now this is the whole African thing. You won't find this in any white church, but you find this in the black church. And for that whole year, all of us who were 13, we were taught about God and about renewal and spirit and things like that. And at the end of that year, we went to the moaning bench. Now, when I got initiated into yoga, I didn't go to a moaning bench. They blindfolded me. I was in the forest. I was in a hut on the ground. But in the Baptist church, you're not blindfolded. You got to close your eyes, and you're on your knees on a bench. And you stay there for 7 days. Just like I stayed on the ground for 7 days. And you're fasting for that 7 days. And your family, you look like you went to that moaning bench. And on that moaning bench, you go into church like about 4 in the evening, and it lasts until about 8 in the evening. And everybody's family sing their song over their child, clap their rhythm over their child. Remember, clapping and foot stomping are drum rhythms that we recall in our head. So we couldn't play the drums, but we could clap the drums, or we could stamp the drums, or what we end up with was tap dancing, which is drum rhythms. And so, but they don't know this. But our people used to know that, so we done forgot because we ain't studied the history, right? But that's how we were retaining ourselves in the midst of this occupation in a white dominant nation called America. Okay? And so after my families, they must have knew I was gonna have a kind of rough life. So the song they sang over me was called "Save Me, Lord, Save My Soul from the Burning Hell." They hit the nail right. Save me, Lord, save me, Lord, save me. Save me, Lord, save my soul from the burning hell. I had no idea what they were singing until after I went through my burning hell. I don't know, what are we going to be going into, right? And then on a certain, I think on the 4th day, I got up. You got to get possessed. And they call it getting the Holy Ghost. But in Yoruba land, we call it spirit possession. In Voodoo, we call it spirit possession. In Ghana Blade, all of the churches, in Santeria, we call it spirit possession. But they call it getting the Holy Ghost. You don't know where you are. You just know, next thing you know, somebody holding you down, and you done dance, shout, jump up on the bench. You've been all over the place for about 20 minutes, you know, and they get you calmed down, and they're fanning you, and they give you a little something to drink. So you know you made it. You made it over to the other side. You got initiated back into the family. But they didn't explain it to you like that because they couldn't. Because that's why for some white man putting the Lord your head off, because you go out there talking about this that way. So you were told that you had gotten the Holy Ghost. and he went over to Jesus. He went to the Jordan River. So he came from one side of the Jordan to the other side of the Jordan. And when you die, you go back across the Jordan River. They had the metaphor laid out because they knew what they were trying to do. And by picking you at age 13, if you read Jomo Kenyatta's book, it's called Facing Mount Kenya, he tells you about the age group rights. So that by grabbing all of this group at 13, that was the African age group ritual that happened every year in every African village in Africa. And those old people remembered it. It says you can block me from having my drum, you can block me from dancing, you can block me from singing, and then you give me your church as a sanctuary so I can go and hide in there and do all the African dance I want to do and call it shouting. Right? And they go, what about you can sure shout, right? Then you're doing the airway dance, the Yoruba dance, the African dances. But the problem is we've forgotten all of this. We forgot what the ancestors did. We forgot what the elders was trying to say. So I'm telling you now, because I was one who condemned the church completely out of hand. Big mistake. I should have condemned Christianity as a theology, but never condemned the church. Because we lived in there and we hid our things. We did the same thing in the Catholic Church. You in the Catholic Church in Europe, you didn't go with all and light all these candles. They copied that from here. Okay? That comes out of the Spanish-speaking, Taino African community, both in Central South America and in the Caribbean. And if you go and see what's going on in the Catholic Church, well, wait a minute. I just went to the Buddhist shrine in Haiti last week and they did the very same thing. I got to the door and I'm washing my hands. I'm dealing with issue and don't even know I'm dealing with issue. I'm dealing with Ogun and don't even know I'm dealing with Ogun. Because I got another name. They're Saint this and they're Saint that. Then I go up front and I'm dealing with the ancestors. I light my candle and I'm dealing with the ancestors. And they tell us don't do this. And we do it every day. And don't know that we're doing it. That's why history will erase the mystery. And that you see these things and realize you have not lost your way as much as you think you've lost it. It's been right there in front of you. Right where the ancestors hid it. But because you didn't know the history, you couldn't recognize yourself even though you were looking in a mirror. Okay? But once you learn the history, and you can recognize the habits that you have. Why do I cook my food this way? Why do I like this type of seasoning? Why do I like this type of combination of peppers and onions and beans? Why do I do it? Because there's something, the food isn't just good digestion, the food is also what? Medicine, right? And the way you prepare that food and what you put in that pot determines how your whole system is going to be reacting. And so all of that is a part of your greater culture. The music simply helps you to tell the story to yourself and one another for memory's sake. Because when you remember what that is. Members, this is a member. You're members of this group, right? If I tear you all apart and put you in different buildings and you no longer remember, I've got to now come and bring you all back to this building and tell you about the Taino chess club and put a chess, but then what am I doing? I'm remembering you. You have to do the same thing in your mind. You have to remember yourself. Bring all of the pieces of your ancestors back together. Because at the end of the day, the greatest story ever told is the one you will tell to yourself. When you tell yourself that you are your ancestors. You are your ancestors. They died, but they didn't go nowhere because they did what? When they gave birth to you, they gave birth to themselves, so they recreated themselves before they died. Then they had time to sit around and train you to be what you're supposed to be when that part of you has gone. But you're the same person who gave birth to yourself. You were Enoch and your mom. All right? You look like it.
All the way, right?
I swear. So when they gave birth to you, they gave birth to themselves. You gave birth to him. When you're gone, you're still here. That's you. But he has to remember you in his mind in order to be that part of you that's important to constantly display and transform for others. That's our culture. This is what our culture is about, knowing the sacred science. Everything else is tools. The clothing is the tool. The drum is the tool. The dancing is the tool. The music is the tool. The eleke is the tool. But the idea of knowing I'm God having a human experience, that is the most fundamental of the things that one has to understand. Our greatest ancestor and our first ancestor is God itself. Nothing exists but God. The symbol on my back says Jame. None but God. None but God exists. I'll show you all again. It's a pretty symbol. Most of you see it. It says none but God exists. If only God, and that's true, if something is omnipotent, omnipresent, omnipotent, and supreme, it occupies all space and all time. Nothing else can exist but it. So then what are we? Expressions of aspects of that existence. Okay. We're tiny little pieces of God. We're like cells in God's body. And each of the cells has its own peculiar function. My finger is made up of billions of cells. But everybody know what they're supposed to do. Because if they get confused, my finger disappears. Because it looks like one thing. It's only one because they're working together. If they get confused and stop working together, the finger disappears. It doesn't exist. And that's what has happened to our people. We've gotten confused. We are the majority of America, and we got people still calling us minorities. How can we be minorities? Every Latino is an African indigenous person. Every African American is an African indigenous person. If you combine those those two groups, we're the majority of America already.
Absolutely.
But then bringing all our people coming in from Central South America, from Africa, we are the superman, and that's what they don't want us to know. They keep playing, you're the minority, and we buy it. We're the people of color. Damn right, we're the people of color. We know we're the people of color. But when it comes to putting us together, you don't put us together as people of color. So you make up 1%, you make up this percent. No, all that percentage should be together. We're the majority of this nation. We built the nation. We maintain the nation. They know that. But the psychology of language and politics and intellectualism and the universe and others to make everybody think just the opposite. And we fall in the trap. I know I belong to the majority nation in this country. And they'll never let me think or feel anything else. I know who I am. I know this is my land. This is my land before. And get me not wrong, now the European is an African with a genetic problem. We understand it. Some say, oh no, they can't be the same, and then we start finding the answer. No, stop being foolish. Understand the science of the universe. Some of us got caught in the ice, and most of us stayed in the sun. And if you understand the dynamics of hundreds of thousands of years of a process, the genetic survival, you will do what you have to do. You don't have to do it consciously. This organism will do it for itself. I don't need melanin anymore. Why? Because melanin is going to cause me to freeze to death. All right? I need a way to absorb as much vitamin D and sunlight as I can. Okay? I don't need a big blurred out nose, because I don't need to breathe in all that cold air. My brain's gonna freeze up. I need to narrow it down so I can warm the air as it's coming in. I don't need the little curly hair on my head that would cool my brain because I'm down there in the sun. I need long hair that would cover my neck. Remember, everything that runs your body comes through your neck. If you can't cover that up, your butt's gonna die. Okay? So there's all kinds of things that happens genetically. But that's not what the problem is. The problem is when you're caught in that situation, you declare war on nature because you feel nature has declared war on you. And we haven't been able to convince the European to stop it. The war you had with nature is over. You're not even in the ice any longer. And we can all live in the world. And like we see the argument going on about Kamala Harris, is she black or is she not black? That's a stupid argument. So what do you say, Du Bois wasn't black? Frederick Douglass wasn't black? Booker T. Washington wasn't black? Lena Horne wasn't black? Etta James wasn't black? You know what I'm saying? When you get stupid, you get real stupid. You know what I'm saying? That's right. My wife is from Trinidad. Her mom is from Southern India. Mabel is about dark as the brother here. My wife is as light as my sister here. You know, now my wife ain't black. You know, people don't understand. Even Kamala says that her mom spoke Tamil. If you know who speaks Tamil, it's the Dalit people of the South. They're the blackest black in India. Right? And they're the largest population of India. They're not just in the South. The South, they predominate, but they're in the center of the country. They're in Pakistan, they're in Bangladesh, they're everywhere. You know, when they left Africa, that's where they stopped. Some went on to Australia, others went on to other places and set up their civilizations through the centuries. You've got to understand history to erase the European mystery that divides us in these tiny little pieces. Because even for those, when I was young, my animosity against the white community used to be a vicious one. Because most people don't really know who I am, Louis, at all. At 21 years old, Malcolm X gets killed. I took over. How many people in there know that? I'm Al-Hajj Amin Shaheed, Imam of the Muslim Mosque, Inc., the only one that has ever assumed that position after the death of Malcolm X. I was the Sister Ella's bodyguard for 18 years. I went to Mecca in 1974 for the first time before Farrakhan and any of the others decided they were going to go check Mecca out. I went before the Rabat Alim al-Islameen, and there I was given the authority to teach Islam in North America, and the only man that had that authority before me was Malcolm X. I left Islam because I knew it wasn't ours. Because while I was in Mecca, I encountered a force that was anti-African, and I took the force on, and they tried to take me out. And when I had given up and I'm sitting on the curb in Jeddah, I took off of that white, I put on the only thing I had was blue dashiki, but looked like leopard spots, and some jeans, and I'm sitting there crying, and I know I was about to die. I had given up, I'd been stealing food to live for weeks, and some people helped me every now and then. And when I'm sitting on this curb in Jeddah crying, a man started talking to me. So I opened my eyes and I looked up, and this man is in the middle of Saudi Arabia, and he's wearing a full Yoruba buba. And I'm like, listen, I don't speak English. He says, oh, I speak English. I said, well, and he said, what is the matter? I said, well, where are you from? He says, I'm from Lagos, Nigeria. So he says, here's my situation, dude. Took my ticket, they won't let me fly. I've got malaria, they know I'm dying. Won't get me any medical service, so I have no money. And so he said, come with me. And bought me an airline ticket. He said, you know, otherwise I would never be here. I was about done. I was about gone. And when I got home, I had to go from the plane to the hospital. There's a lot of other stuff in between. I got arrested by the CIA. The Saudis gave me up to the CIA. I escaped the CIA in Jeddah. They caught me at Kennedy Airport, and it was a big joke. And he said, nobody escapes from us. I thought, well, I did. And I'm broke, remember? The CIA man after me and him had this long talk. He goes in his pocket and he gave me $50. He said, Mr. Small, we were watching you. And we know you didn't have no money. He says, $50 to buy some food while you wait for your plane. But I'm telling you this because it's something we gotta get straight. We have to stop judging people on color. That's what they do. We have to stop judging people on supportive race. That's what they do. There really is only one race. That one race has, as its genesis, the African genome and phenotype, meaning the black is black. And African culture, what we call African culture, is the core of their worldview. But some of the people who have saved my life multiple times have been white people, not black people. Now I gotta tell you this because if you get so deep in the hate, you end up hating yourself thinking you're hating somebody else. And then you can't function. Even if you got knowledge, you can't function. But you gotta be careful how you discriminate. You can't go to this, oh, because my friend George, who was white, Charles, you could come on be my buddy. No, it just don't work like that. You have to learn judgment, right? You know? I got busted in Orange. How many people have been to Los Angeles? You know Orange County, 77 precinct, the worst damn precinct in LA back in the day. Now imagine me getting busted in 1970. They charged me with $1 million worth of heroin. I never knew two stolen 45 that was stolen from a raid on the Oakland Armory. So there I was, handcuffed, beat up. Ella Collins, Malcolm's sister, that had broken her hands in 7th place, and it was a hit. I'm on my knees behind a gas station with a pistol in my mouth, and 3 cars pull up there, and it was the feds, full of all these white guys in black suits, and they wouldn't let the white man in the white shirt kill me.
Oh, wow.
From the 77th precinct. I wouldn't know for like a month why those feds stayed through. That was the first time. They saved us a couple other times. We're in LAX. Y'all know what LAX is? No. I'm on my knees. I'm on my belly. Sawed-off shotgun in one hand, M16 laying beside me, a 45 on the other side. Roy Ballard is there, arms similar. Master Shabazz is on. We hit Ella and the baby behind the counter. And here comes NY LAPD finest. And the man in black comes in between the two of us. Drives them back. And we still don't know what the hell until we get to San Francisco. And the Black Police Association, which was just founded in Detroit. Some of our people in Detroit called the second chapter of the Frisco. And those brothers met us at the plane. And they found out that Yasser Arafat, because when I was the imam of the mosque, I housed El Fatah, New York chapter. Anyone know what El Fatah is? El Fatah becomes the PLO. So I was the house, I housed the El Fatah Women Brigade and the El Fatah Center in New York. So Yasser Arafat was like a patriot. So when we got arrested that night side the highway, we were being beaten. People saw us and people was up on the freeway and yelling at the cops. And somehow the news people caught up with it while we were still out this side of the road. And this thing gets to the Middle East like that. Arafat's called Washington, D.C. and said they bet not let harm come to us. That's when they send the Freds to stop the LAPD. Stuff like that happens. That's when you know there's spirit in the world, right? Because how in the hell could that happen? Because they had wanted to make me yesterday. I was like about 23. I wasn't even married yet. I've been married 53 years. And so, all those white men, I had to say, well, they were my angels that night. They were not the Klan chasing me through the marsh in South Carolina. I've been there too, right? They were my angels. But we didn't understand how or why, you know. And they allowed us with all that guns and armament and took, they brought the plane back in on the tarmac, and we got on there fully armed, fully loaded, locked and loaded, and went to Frisco. We get off by then, we were so exhausted. I remember
That was from LA?
Yeah, from LA to Frisco. Yeah. I'm telling you these stories because I've been through a lot in 79 years. And you get to see stuff.
That's right.
And you get to see nothing is black and white. Nothing. And if you play the black and white game, you're gonna lose your African humanity. And they'll defeat you every time. So you've got to have the wisdom to discern and tell the difference. Because if you don't, you'll lose. That's why I can always bring it back to basics. That when brother gets up in the morning, if he can't guarantee some food, clothing, and shelter, you know where you're going to be in about 4 or 5 days. Go on. Because you got to have food, clothing, shelter. It's basic whether you live in China, Russia, America, Africa, the Caribbean, Central South America. If you can't guarantee food, clothing, shelter, safety, and security, you are not going to function. And to do that, you got to get control of economic, politics, and culture. And then you must get control of the land, the labor, and the resources where you live. Don't go back to nobody else's neighborhood. You do what they got to do in your neighborhood. In your neighborhood, you need to buy the building. Don't sit around and leave an abandoned building for 20 years and somebody else come by and then you scream for vacation. Right. The building sat there for 20 years and you didn't buy it. And you had the money to do it. And somebody else comes, oh, what a lovely building, I can open a store there. And you scream, oh, they're gentrifying us. No, you gentrified yourself. Because you wasn't responsible economically to your own self. Like this institution you're in now, people should be hanging off the walls. They should be sitting all on the floor. Because if you don't maintain this institution, who's going to maintain it? And the brother was telling me about two of his mentors. I think you one of his mentors. And where's the You the
Yeah,
other
right
one?
here, the brother with the hat and
The brother with the glasses on his head.
no, the brother with the hat up
green
in the
and white
front.
shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a teacher. He's an educator, Modaris Jihad.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
He looks like one of them Muslim brothers. Were you in the nation?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Some of the greatest black men we got, Elijah created. Don't ever put, I know we got caught in the conflict, and if anybody should push it, it's me, because I'm Malcolm's fan. But I've always supported the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We know a mess came up in there. We know what happened. We know some of the details now. I know a lot of it back then. But Malcolm and Elijah built the greatest transformative organization in the history of America.
Amen.
Unfortunately, even the leaders who have it now don't understand what the messenger is trying to do. I love Minister Farrakhan. He's doing some good teaching. He's holding it together the best he can. But the messenger had a bigger idea than a family thing. He had a big idea. Unfortunately, his children didn't understand that, and they couldn't maintain what the father created. Warren tried, but he went too far the other way. He should have stayed centered a little more. Because Islam is not some mythical thing. You can be a Muslim and not know one word of Arabic, never seen a Quran, never heard of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and you can still be a good Muslim. That was just the Muslim in the Arab language and culture. Now, because they conquered the world, we get to learn about the Quran. The Jews helped conquer the world, we get to learn about the Torah. The Roman Christians conquered the world, so we learn about the Bible. Had the voodoo man conquer the world, they'll all be screaming, Shambo! So, the conqueror gave us a way to look at divinity. But we've got to always return back to our mother and father to know how to truly look at divinity. Because before there was an Egypt, a Kemet, now we call it Kemet. There was the place that we now call Nigeria. Before there was a Kemet, there's the place we now call Congo. Before there was a Kemet, there's the place we now call Zululand. All of those places existed. Zimbabwe, all existed before Kemet. Sudan, Nubia. We created Kemet out of the belly of Africa. And we made some fundamental mistake. We created what we couldn't defend, and we shined our lights in the enemy's eyes without being prepared to stop the enemy when he came, and he kicked our behinds for centuries. And now they're over in Egypt saying we can't even come to visit Egypt. They don't want no black people to come no more. No, serious sister. Yesterday, Charles just told me today when we were coming that Baba Kaba, who I'm gonna get to come and hook up with you.
Thank you. Yes,
You
yes.
know, that Brother Kaba and his children was over there and they're attacking me.
Oh.
Tony brought us, but all the work that Tony has done, Tony said he'll never go to Egypt again.
Wow.
Because they started attack really on me and a group I was working with called the Happy Group.
I love those talks, by the way.
Three
Now,
years,
those are
yeah.
incredible. Yes.
Yeah, 3 years ago. But we were coming, we were rolling up there with 100 people and we were gonna do some, and all hell broke loose. And it was because they don't want to give up Kemet as a black civilization. Now you go in to see the mummies, they're all black as this phone. So you gonna look at this black man and say, but he ain't really black.
with the locks.
And everybody is painted brown and black and beige. He said, they ain't really people of color. You know, one guy came down and said, oh, you can see my skin is red, I've been in the sun all day. No, please stop it. There was no such thing as an Arab then. An Arab is simply a mixture of the Greek, the Roman, and the Africans that they raped and robbed. That's all they are. So just let's tell the truth. So we'll let you own the part of it that you own. But how you gonna tell the Africans on the African continent, even the Middle East is on the African continent, where they're committing all this genocide against our people because they don't know who they are. The Palestinians don't know who they are. They're Africans. Guess what? You know what's the biggest secret ever about the Palestinians? They're the original Hebrew. And they got some guys called the Jews killing them because they confused and thinking they're Muslims and Christians. And don't know how to make their case to the world. They are the indigenous Canaanite people. You know, they're mixed now, but the base of them, the foundation of them, is the original Canaanite. who creates, along with the African Hebrew, Egyptian, the original Hebrew. But even the Hebrew culture is a Johnny-come-lately culture. That's nothing. They are not new in time. That's a modern culture. Islam is an even more modern culture. The oldest culture you'll find in Africa is called voodoo. There's nothing in Africa older than voodoo.
Really?
That's why everybody's so scared. That's why they want to defame the name. Remember once, those of us who were old enough, when we wouldn't call ourselves Africa because they made us think Africa was ugly. They made Africa the same way they made the word nigger. And so we didn't call ourselves Africa, you know? And somehow we were able to claim Africa back, thanks to Elijah and Malcolm and Garvey and Du Bois and the others. We claimed Africa back, but they were able to keep nigger, which is really an African word, by the way. They go way back to Nile Valley, go way back to South Africa and East Africa. But they decided to defame that word like they're defaming voodoo. How many people know what the meaning of voodoo is? See? If you know your history, you can resolve the mystery. The word is found in only two languages. The farm language, that's the people who now live in Benin. They didn't always live in Benin. They come from other parts of Africa. And the Ewe language, that's the people who live predominantly in Togo and certain parts of Ghana. The word means the essence of God in a thing.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have that problem. You gotta help me out.
And then the brother here did most of the recording. Kemet Maroon right here.
Yes, sir.
He's gonna edit the video and give me a copy, and Dr. Smallwood, we're just gonna put it on Facebook and on YouTube, so people can see that he was here and stuff.
You was on Facebook Live?
Yeah. Tribu Coqui, my website. It's called Tribu Coqui. Yeah.
That's what that is.
Yeah, I'm also